Hey there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I am here with Kris Bullard, and I'm going to be talking to him about Sound Mind Live, which is a nonprofit that he runs. He is the founder and executive director. I got to meet him at a YouTube health event, and we got to see the location in which he hosts a lot of these events, and I knew immediately I wanted to interview him, and we've been setting this up for a while, so I'm super pumped to have a conversation. We're going to learn a little bit about Kris, his journey through his own mental health, and then how he ended up doing what he does today. So, Kris, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, Cody. Yeah, it's really great to be talking to you.
Like I said, we got to meet over the summer, and it was super cool being able to check out your space. And it was perfect for the event that we were doing. And I just wanted to learn more about like the events you guys host there. So, for anyone who doesn't know, tell us a little bit first about who you are, and then I'll ask you some follow up questions about your nonprofit and all the cool stuff you guys do there.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, my background, I originally grew up in LA, and kind of like a suburban aspect of LA in the Valley. For anyone who's watched Clueless, or a lot of movies knows about the Valley. And went to college out there, studied communications at University of Southern California, and before moving to New York, out of college, I was a touring musician for a couple of years in a band. Nothing glamorous. It was an RV going across the country 6 weeks at a time with a bunch of six guys in an RV, really sweaty. But getting to perform with some amazing artists like Willie Nelson and Kristofferson, we were kind of in that folk world, and it gave me an amazing opportunity to both see the country, meet people around the country, and also use music as a way to connect with other people, which something that I was deeply passionate about since I was a young kid. And after that band kind of disbanded, like mini bands, there was a lot of internal turmoil and different types of decision making about the creative way we should go. I really kind of had a period of, I would say, losing my identity or refining my identity of, if I'm not a musician, who or what am I? Tried to start a company out in LA, had some success, but kind of struggled to really find what my path was. And it was around that time, I think really both losing that identity, but also the anxiety of what was I going to do with my life, that I struggled with a mental health crisis, and yet ended up having a psychotic break, ending up in the hospital, and eventually diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And took some time to really take off work and kind of try to get my life back in order, and eventually moved to New York, where I worked for a bit, got an MBA, and then worked in the nonprofit space at an impact investing fund, supporting other organizations to grow and scale, using both nonprofit and for-profit models to support underprivileged populations. And at that time, my mental health for me took, it was on the back burner. It was kind of like I'm taking my medication, but I've got my day job and I'm pressing forward in what I thought was going to be my career in impact investing. And on the side, I started a music support program with the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And for me, it was a way to get back into music. I was still writing songs and playing shows out, but to kind of give back through music. And I had the inspiration actually from Willie Nelson, who I mentioned, one of the artists I had the fortune of playing with. He started Farm Aid, which was a music festival to support family farmers, and using music as this vehicle to support social change in a way that it has done for so many causes. And I thought, wow, this is what music could do for mental health in many ways. And the group I was running was like 12 people, maybe 20 people on a good day, just sharing music, playing music, listening to music. But I started to organize what would become Sound Mind's first annual music festival for mental health. We've now done it. This will be the seventh year this coming year, and got 250 people together and the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and raised, I think, at that, like $25,000 for them, but got a lot of people in the music industry involved. Billboard magazine did a write up. Kevin Lyman, who founded the Vans Warped Tour, got involved as an advisor, and it kind of provided this platform to start an organization specifically around that. And so that was back in 2019, and so now over the past 5 years, we've been using as music as a platform to foster community dialogue and action around mental health through the power of music. So one way to do that is through producing events. We used to do that around the city. Now we have our own. I always call it like a mix between a venue and a wellness space in New York City. We still put on our annual music festival, and then we also have a podcast interviewing a lot of now Grammy-winning artists across genre about their own lived experience. And then we'll also partner with artist tours and existing music festivals to actually engage audiences on mental health in terms of having those deeper conversations, but then also if people need support and don't know where to get it, plugging them into resources like NAMI, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and other folks who can actually help them get the support they need, or if it's a loved one, tie them in with that support. So it's been an amazing journey over those 5 years, and now, having our own space is a whole new way to not only have our own events, but work with different community partners and artists and practitioners to bring more to life and have a hub for all this to happen in.
Yeah, and your story is incredible. The space is awesome, like I said. I really find it interesting how you were able to get people who, I'm not saying musicians aren't a part of the conversation about mental health, but to get people who otherwise have, an image that they are like artists, they're very well known. To get those people involved with these conversations is so important. And to be able to host these events and be able to bring people together. One big issue I had when I was first diagnosed, and music was such a big thing for me. It was a foundation of just like something to fall back on, something to rely on. And I think a lot of people have that with music. But the thing I didn't have was resources, or know where to find them, or know where to look for them. And I'm someone who did attend a lot of concerts and go to a lot of live music, and something like that for me. The reason I loved this story was because I would have loved to have some sort of resource, some sort of knowledge outside of just a center in the middle of nowhere where people are doing peer support groups. I didn't know about those things. So to be able to engage with, my everyday activities and still find access to those resources, I think is amazing. And I'm sure you hear this, but it's got to be a way that a lot of people can still be in their comfort zone and find out where they can go to get help.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge part of it. It was actually a big part of my inspiration for starting it was, I think sometimes support groups both have this image of being like, oh, a bunch of people sitting around, it's a little dry, talking about their emotions. It can be both scary and also maybe even seem boring. I think that was one of the things I thought when I went to some bipolar support groups, and it ended up being really helpful.
Yeah.
But the idea of, oh, this drudge of this thing I have to take care of on my mental health, and it's this time suck on my day, and it's going to be boring, and it's a little scary. I've never done this before, where mental health can be extremely connected. It can be fun. It can be celebratory. And that's part of what we try to remind people with, and that music just does. You go to a concert and if you're moshing with your friends, or you're just laughing and bobbing your head to music, you're treating your mental health. You're doing something great for yourself that's deepening that connection. You could possibly deepen connection with others, and you could have a good time doing it. And thinking about mental health in this way, where it's both part of our everyday life, and that music and mental health can be these resources that nourish us, and we can enjoy the process, is something that we've tried to do. And I think, yeah, a lot of people that come to our events, we're throwing big 1,000-person festivals and concerts that are a lot of fun, but there is there's some medicine in the applesauce, so to speak, of you're learning about mental health, and you're hopefully opening your heart in that process.
Yeah. Well, and I think what I know from my own experience is when I was first struggling, the thing that always worries me about anyone who has a mental illness or is just struggling with mental health is everyone tends to isolate, right? And this is kind of pulling people out of that. You're getting people out, you're getting people engaged, you're getting people around others. That right there is huge because when I was first going through my diagnosis, isolation was everything. Like I just always wanted to be away from people, and it was the little things that got me back out into the real world, seeing people, engaging with people, and that's what saved me, honestly. And music naturally brings people together, and it's also just kind of a language for everyone. So I love hearing about this your organization, but I want to talk specifically about your annual concert. Can you tell me like what's the date for that? Where do you host it? And what's it kind of look like year to year? Like, do you have reoccurring artists? Do you have new artists every year? Like, what's that really look like for you guys?
Yeah. Well, this year it'll be May 18th. We're doing it at the Brooklyn Paramount in New York City. It's about a 3,000 capacity venue. And it's shifted a bit every year. The last 2 years, we did it as a street festival. We blocked off the streets and brought in a stage. And then, beyond the performances, we always have panels and wellness workshops like yoga and meditation. And then, like 20 to 30 vendors of everything from food to mental health resources to fun creative activations. And, the artists, there's some artists who have come back, and it also shifts year to year because there's so many artists we work with in our community. So we've had everyone from Big Boy to Outkast to Jason Isbell and like more of a country artist to All Time Low, who's more in the punk scene. So really like these artists around genre who in different genres who connect with the cause. And we're still planning out who's going to be performing this year and exactly what that's going to look like. But really excited to be also doing it in Brooklyn Paramount because we've had a partnership with Live Nation over the last year, working at Live Nation venues in the Northeast. And they were really excited to be able to host this at one of their venues and offer some additional support as well. And that means a lot when a big group like that can really get behind a cause.
Yeah, and then I want to talk about the podcast and some of the other things you guys offer, but tell me about the space more. Like, how did that come to be? So I got to see it at the event we met at. How did the space come to be? What events are you hosting there? And like, I know you said it's like more and more every day. Can you give like a rundown of what is there, or if there's more that you're hoping to see there?
Yeah, this space is something, in a way, it's been in the making for a year and a half. Like I said, we would host events all around the city in different venues, from large music venues to renting out churches and cathedrals to do sound meditations. And we took this space that we took over to launch SoundMind Center. And for folks who want to check it out, it's just soundmindcenter.us. But it's a 4,500 square foot converted industrial loft, and it's beautiful. And we had actually rented it to host a live music concert paired with breathwork, where we had about 100 people in here laying down on mats with live music performances and meditation and breathwork. And one of the things we always think about with our events, like I said, is both this aspect of it's fun and transformative, but also it has this immersive nature that takes you out of your everyday experience and is something that opens your heart. So we would always bring in like lighting and good sound and try to find a beautiful space. And we would go into a lot of spaces, and either we'd have to bring all that equipment into somewhere like a church and end this space when we initially rented it, or we would go into a space and we would be throwing this really meaningful event. And then the next day there's a dance party, but a bunch of people are getting wasted and there's really no intentionality around deeper connection. And not that all dance parties are like that, but I think
Yeah,
just sometimes when you go out, it's more about like, it can, for some people, it's more about like losing yourself than finding yourself. And
yeah,
sometimes those are related, but we try to, when we do dance events here, it's like, okay, this is a sober dance event. It's about letting yourself go, but meeting other people too in the process. And so we wanted a space where we could create replicable way of having that transformative experience, getting all the right lighting and sound. And so it took a while to build that out. We launched it in September. So when you were here for that YouTube health event in October around World Mental Health Day, it had just been a month.
Yeah.
And, even since then, we brought in more things to make it an amazing experience. But yeah, we're hosting now like 4 events a week. And some of those we produce, but a lot's in community partnerships. So we do a monthly open mic with Cafe Open Mic, which is run by a guy who works with the Orchard and Sony Music, with amazing musicians coming in with an intention set around mental health sharing. We're doing ecstatic dance every month, which, like I mentioned, if folks don't know it, it's like a sober dance community where it's all about expression and getting into your body. And different concerts. Tomorrow we're doing a partnership with World Music Institute and having amazing South African guitarists come in and perform. And in all these, we talk about different mental health resources and access to community support. And we do a lot of partnering events with different community organizations, both national organizations and then also local organizations. Like we're here in Brooklyn, and we have like Brooklyn Community Pride Center. There's local organizations we've partnered with who support women in the Latinx community, and so we've done some events supporting how to open up yoga and low cost therapy to those types of communities here. So it's just been an amazing way to both host our own events, but also sink into how partnering with other groups, especially those who serve specific communities, to bring these type of things to life.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, I want to thank you for your time. Before you go, I always ask everyone, do you have a message for people who might be in a similar place as you were when you put it as finding yourself or refinding yourself. What's a message you might have for someone who would be in that same position?
I think my message would be to have an open mindset about what this is or can be for you in your life. I really struggled with both the highs of bipolar and at times like a low of depression, and being caught up in the story of, am I going to be caught in this forever, and feeling alone. And looking at it now, they were the seeds of this amazing journey of actually connecting with a lot more people who both guided me on my own path as mentors, and then eventually I've become a mentor for others on their path. And that's a very common story I hear with people, and also the connections I found through that. And sometimes they take a bit to make, but there's so much more for me, and I think for a lot of others that I've heard along a mental health journey, deeper and more meaningful, and helping me self-realize in amazing ways and have a lot of fun with people in ways that I couldn't before. So I think just having that open mind about what it could be, and just like finding a job, that perseverance and patience that it sometimes takes, and and those relationships are found and then grow and blossom, and that's a beautiful thing. So I would just give people that message of open-mindedness, perseverance, and patience.
And I would piggyback off that and remind everyone that everyone's journey is different. And I love how you put that. I think that's amazing. Before we go, I want to give you a chance to mention your podcast and some of the other events you do, just to make sure we didn't miss out on any of the amazing things you're doing, so people can go check those out as well.
Yeah, I check out our Going There with Dr. Mike podcast. We do that with an amazing music organization, Consequence Media. And, for us, our Instagram is soundmind_live. Our org website is soundmindlive.org. And you can find out about all of our programs, other support resources there through a bunch of other organizations that we partner with. And also, if people are interested in getting involved in some way, they could definitely reach out there, whether it's partnering on an event or volunteering, anything, please reach out.
Awesome. And I will put the podcast and the Instagram link down in the description of this video, so be sure to check out for that. Kris, thank you so much for taking time for this today. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and let me know who you would like to hear from next. There are so many inspirational people like Kris out there who are putting in the work to make sure people know about mental health resources. So thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Bye.